Hey guys, welcome back to my channel and brand new video. But as you can see, it's not an unboxing, it's not anything related to collecting. Well, not collecting, collecting for me at least, it's not. It's something to talk about, pretty much the do's and don'ts of having a professional wrestling DVD collection. And I get these questions a lot. I mean, obviously, because people have seen how much I have and how much I don't. Um, but purely, it's very interesting to see the rise in the last few months of the W DVDs, even TNA DVDs, or any wrestling promotion DVDs. It's crazy because I remember when the W Network launched back in 2014, a lot of people sold their collections purely because of the ease of having all the pay-per-views that on all the content that they had already on Blu-ray or DVD was going to make it to the network. And surprisingly enough, they did, and they did have a lot of stuff, from the pay-per-views, from the early ones, from Wrestling Classic, all the way to, at that point, was I believe was Elimination Chamber 2014. I believe WrestleMania 30 was the first WWE pay-per-view to go on the network. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it was a long time ago. I don't remember. But yeah, and I remember just people selling off their collections, and years worth of collecting and years worth of collectors wanting to sell, to invest, and say, you know what, I'm just going to sell it because it's on the network. Okay, it's great, and I'm not here to judge if you want to, if you sold off your collections or not. But in the last few months, ever since the WWE Network has moved to Peacock TV in the US, there's been more movements as to wanting to collect again, because purely some of the content that was originally in the WWE Network is still not on Peacock TV. It's interesting because I would have never imagined, or would have never had the idea in my mind, me and my brother both, because we are both the ones that collect this DVD collection that you see on my channel. But it would never came into my mind that I wanted to sell anything that I have. Purely, I'll explain. It's a personal reason, but it's the truth. The Tag Classics pretty much saves my collection, and if you don't know what the Tag Classics are, they're two pay-per-views paired together. It could be Survivor Series 89, 90, 91, 92, so on. But I mean, I remember when the first initial Tag Classics were really announced, and I remember being amazed because I always thought, wow, this is a dream come true, because I'd be able to have the early King of the Rings and the early SummerSlam shows and all these things that were eventually became available via that route. And I remember just being amazed, like I said before. And in a way, it kick-started what I wanted my collection to become. Once I got all the earlier ones, like I mentioned before, I never did get the WrestleManias. I'll explain to you later as to why. But I remember always being amazed because I thought they would be blurred and maybe the WF mentions would be removed and everything else. But surprisingly enough, once I got my first one, which was, I didn't get it, my brother picked it up, was King of the Ring 93 and 94. And I had the Colosseum video of the VHS of King of the Ring 94. So if I wanted to compare the differences, I could. I couldn't do it with 93 because I didn't have 93 in my collection, but I did it with 94. And I remember 94 just being amazed because there was nothing different to one thing to the other. And you know what? It just kickstarted everything. Then no more. We wanted to get more. We were more excited as to what was going to get released next. I remember when the In Your Houses were released. I mean, I remember 1 and 2 got released, and then 13 and 16 got released, which was pretty weird in its own right. But I mean, 13 and 16 are arguably two of the best In Your House pay-per-views. I mean, Final Four and Canadian Stampede. And I remember reading years later and finding out years later the only reason they released 13 and 16 together was because they wanted to get the two best In Your House DVDs or pay-per-views out there, just in case they didn't continue them. And Lord and behold, thankfully they did. And the In Your Houses are obviously I dare say, my gems of my collection. I absolutely loved the In Your House pay-per-views. I think purely because they didn't really have the In Your House pay-per-views on Sky back then, until I believe the first In Your House on Sky was Revenge of the Taker, which was the one after WrestleMania 13 in April '97, and that's actually also one of my favorite In Your House pay-per-views. But I remember just finding out all these things, and then once I saw how much they wanted to release, I mean, they got to Once after the in-house pay-per-views were over, I think they released up to 28, which was Backlash 99, and then they continued with Fully Loaded 99 and Unforgiven 99 and so on. Obviously, Over the Edge was never released as part of Attack Classic, because it never did get released on VHS anywhere in the world, for obvious reasons. You all know, if all you hardcore fans like me, you probably know why. But I just remember just them continuing on, and then the fact that I had from Backlash 2001 onwards on DVD already helped. And once it got to Armageddon 2000 and No Way Out 2001, which was the last one I picked up, I believe, aside from the one that released with the Jericho Angle, Stone Cold, and Three Faces of Foley DVDs. Aside from that, that was the last pay-per-view one that I got. And I remember I had a friend that works at Silvervision called Stephen Embury, who sadly passed away. And I remember him telling me, I think it was as early as April 2009, or maybe even March 2009, that Armageddon 2000 and No Way Out 2001 was going to get released in August, and my birthday's in August. And I remember him telling me, no, like, you'll probably order it, and I did. I remember I pre-ordered it, and I remember when I ordered it, and then it came in the mail, it never came. It was damaged, and it was sent back. Apparently it was destroyed. I don't know what happened. So I had to reorder it again. And I found out years later by someone who worked at Silvervision, who I knew as well, that Stephen actually sent it to me in advance, purely because he knew how much I needed it for my collection, and purely because it was for my 21st birthday, and it was like a little surprise, if you will. And I treasure that one very much. I know the second one I ordered wasn't initially the one I ordered, and the one that Stephen commissioned for me to get early. But I mean, it's something I hold very dear, and every time I look at it in my collection, I just get emotional. It's crazy how a DVD can do that. But when it comes to collecting, like the whole purpose of this video is, I just want to say very easily, you'll have to start at the beginning if you want to get serious about it. Do check eBay, do check Facebook groups, do check everywhere. There is a lot of contents out there that, or even sellers out there that want to sell as much of what they have. I mean, it's crazy to even think that people will want to sell, especially some of the WWF ones, because they're becoming more hard to come by as the years go by. But it's crazy, and I remember the first one I got was Royal Rumble 2001, which was initially for a gift from my brother for my 13th birthday. And we made a pact back then that we will only get the pay-per-views that went on Sky on DVD. Whether it's the Royal Rumbles or WrestleManias, or obviously WrestleMania was still on Sky, and at least on Sky Sports until WrestleMania 20. That was the last one on Sky Sports, and I remember I've still got the recording of it somewhere on VHS. But I mean, that was the pact that we made, and we thought, what, let's just keep it like that, because I already had 1 to 15, WrestleMania's 1 to 15 on VHS, because I bought the WrestleMania box set as late as August 2002, just before, or even after they scrapped all these from HMV and all these shops. I was in London on a visit on a holiday, and I actually picked it up. But I was never going to get the WrestleManias on DVD because I already had them on VHS. But obviously then the WrestleMania Anthology was released, and there was a good deal once I saw that WrestleManias 1 to 11 were released on Tech Classics. I thought I'd get them. But I already had 1 to 11 on the Anthology. So I got WrestleManias 11 and 12 and put 12 on its own cover, and then just used the 11 version from the Anthology. I just remember that, and then as it went on, it's just led to being very up to date with everything that I have. It's perfect because in that sense, if you want to watch something, don't take the network for granted. Even if you live in Europe, don't take the network for granted. I know it's there. I know it's easier. I consider myself in that. It's easier to just play the pay-per-view or anything that you want to watch on the network as opposed to just getting the disc from your shelves. It's very easy. It's very convenient, especially when you're traveling. But another thing I do want to say is don't overspend. Sometimes I think a little bit of advice from those who know would help you. I mean, just ask. and say, look, what how much is this worth, or I've been offered this for so and so. Some of them are more expensive than others. You'll be very surprised as to what's more expensive in US that isn't in UK and Europe, for example. I mean, a simple example is Vengeance 2002 and Judgment Day 2002. Those were available in Europe and Silvervision very easily. Just order them and you have them. I believe in the US they only had them via WWE Shop, and they actually go up in price as the years go on. And I don't know why. It could be, I think maybe because it was a mail order DVD. But I mean, I think we took it for granted how easy it was. I mean, I remember getting Vengeance 2002, in February 2009. How long? I can't even remember what I got it with. I think it was Survivor Series 2002 and something else from 2002. Maybe I could be not sure. I could have been No Mercy 2002 or Unforgiven 2002. I'm not entirely sure. But I remember getting them from Silvervision. Then when you look at the ones that are very expensive, I say, or maybe not even expensive, but just ask around, get advice as to what's expensive, what isn't, if you've overpaid or if you haven't. It's very important, you don't want to overspend on a DVD that maybe is not very good. It's not even because it's not very good, but for collecting purposes, I'm pretty sure you can get some for very good prices. The trick, at least from what I've learned with my TNA DVD collecting, as opposed to my WWE DVD collecting, is that it's always good to buy them in lots, because you can get some really good bargains. I mean, when I got and purchased my TNA DVDs in December, just after Christmas, before Christmas, some of them, well, the first lot at least, included Slammiversary 2014. They included Lockdown 2014 as well, and I have recently learned that they are very rare to find. And then obviously they didn't have Sacrifice 2014, which my good friend Mark Thomas Robb got for £10, I believe, at London Wrestling Convention where we went in 2015. And when I've seen recently how much it goes for, it's unreal. I'm not really well versed as to what's rare when it comes to TNA DVD collecting compared to WWE, but I'm not happily here to help you if you need any advice as to what you should get, or what you think is rare, or what you think you should pay for some of them. Another thing I want to say is, aside from not overspending on TNA DVDs or WWE DVDs even, I think it's important to just get what you want. Don't get everything just because it's part of a collection and a part of the catalogue. I've got almost everything WWE have ever released, except the Diva DVDs, as I explained in my last video. But besides that, I've always bought, at the time, before I got very serious about collecting, I always got what I wanted. Whether it was something like, I don't know, Shawn Michaels' My Journey, or Shawn Michaels from the Vault, or even the Dungeon Collection by Bret Hart, or any other DVDs. Some of them are re-releases from the Coliseum videos, like especially Buries Them Alive and the Andre the Giant ones, which I believe were released in 2005. But even then, with those, I have actually got them in Coliseum video form, like on DVD, from VHS to DVD. Purely because I wanted the Coliseum videos. If you look at my collection, I've actually got every single Coliseum video except one, which is the Countdown to SummerSlam 94. But I've got the Countdown to SummerSlam 94 as part of the Tag Classic, so there you go. But similar to that Coliseum video section, I don't have SummerSlam 99 on its own, for example. When it was released in 99, I never really did pick it up. Don't ask me why. It's like intuition. I mean, maybe because I knew 98 was going to be released as part of the Classic. I don't know. But I remember being very happy once I had it with 98 as part of the Classic. Same goes for Survivor Series 2000, King of the Ring 2000, and Royal Rumble 2000. There's a few that I actually don't have the individual DVDs of, but I have as part of the Classic for obvious reasons. But I think the key to collecting, and it's very easy to say, but just keep it simple. If you want to spend, and if you have the, I want to say the funds to actually overspend if you want, but do get advice, do ask around, because some of them, there is some sellers who try to take, have the cheek, I suppose, as we say down here in British terms, if that makes any sense, to actually say that maybe some, or put some for sale, which are not really worth that price. You know, they just take advantage of the fact that it's maybe very rare or that it's out of print. That's the honest truth. I mean, I'm guilty of it. You know, I have spent a few times. I'm not gonna lie, but at the same time, there is some things I wish I hadn't overspent on. But at the same time, you look at my collection; it's progressed, and it's pretty much taken a long time in many things. But anyway, that's where I'm at. If you want to really comment or ask anything about collecting, I'm happy to help. You know, use my knowledge, of my fountain of knowledge when it comes to wrestling DVD collecting. I'm always happy to help. Do hope I could get those remaining TNA DVDs in the mail soon. I'm getting a bit anxious and desperate, only because I want them to be complete in my collection and to look at them and admire them, because it's only taken me almost 7 months to complete that set. Aside, similar to the Diva DVDs, I don't have all the TNA Diva DVDs, Knockout DVDs, except obviously the Knockouts Knockdown because they're pay-per-views. But that's where I'm at in my collection. You know, I'm just collecting as I go along. There's a lot of WWE stuff that's being released. We only get a certain compilation and the pay-per-views, but I still get them anyway. It's cool to have them in my collection. If you want to watch SummerSlam 92 or any other pay-per-view, it's always great to look at your collection, pick them up from your shelf, put the DVD on and just enjoy it. Or if you have the WWE Network, you can do the same. But anyway, guys, that's where I'm at. I'll be back very soon. If there's anything that you want me to review, just let me know in the comments below, or you can always message me. You can follow me on Twitter. I'll leave the handle in the description box below. And thanks for watching, and take care, guys.